How many students are in the class, would you say?
Oh, right now in here?
Yeah.
Let's see, we have about 15. 15?
Okay, cool. Awesome.
So before we get into the platform itself, tell us a little bit about your origin story, David. You built Mind of a Genius into something really significant. So what made you pivot towards building infrastructure for independent artists?
Great question. So when I started the label, it was during a time where there was still a lot of sort of gates in between audience and artist. And as a record company, we made a business off of essentially managing those relationships with the people in those positions that were unlocking audiences. And so when audiences started to shift slowly into a world of direct to artist relationship, the record companies, for the most part, lost a lot of the allure of what it meant to really be a helpful person in the corner of the artist. And so our model of handpicking a few select artists a year, investing a lot of time, money, and effort into those artists to help them blow up or generate, streams or go on tour, became increasingly more difficult. And so for a couple of years, tried to figure out another way to bring value to artists, maybe now instead of just a couple a year, to a whole market of independent artists with tools that were only given to those few that we were signing in the previous stage of what we were as a company.
Okay, so I want to orient the students a little bit towards getting them to understand the difference a little bit between a record label, a distributor, and an aggregator. So how would you describe what Grantee Distribution is and where it fits into that infrastructure for artists?
So essentially when you make music and you want to put it on the general stores that people consume music from, Spotify, Apple, there's 100 of them all around the world. You have to go through some sort of distributor because those platforms don't allow you to go directly to them for uploading. So there's a ton of old school distributors that have been around, DistroKid, CD Baby, TuneCore, which cost, I don't know, some of them are like $5 a month, some of them are $40, $50 a year. And so all they do is they get your music onto the services, and once they're on the services, it's up to the artist to figure out how to promote, monetize, and then bring revenue to those arts and to those works that they put up. And so for forever, online distribution has just been that. And what we figured out was that there was a large amount of people that wanted more than just distribution, and we were trying to figure out a way to create a product that allowed a lot of people to also get distribution through us, plus the services that are necessary to move their careers actually forward instead of just getting their songs up online. It's like having, you can have a million versions of toothpaste at Ralph's or whatever the local grocery store is, but if people don't know that product, they're not going to buy it. And so it's the same thing with music, where Spotify has become a massive marketplace for all kinds of music, but if people are not finding you or looking for you or discovering you, then there's no value to the product being up. And so we have combined the traditional sense of distribution with putting your music up online and getting it to the stores, which we're the best at doing because we're so on the cutting edge of what it means to be a distributor, and then combining that with all these other services that we provide to independent artists that are actually looking to make something of their music versus just having it on stores.
Yeah. So with Grantee Distribution, then you're built around a subscription model, right? And a lot of these other distributors out there, like CD Baby, TuneCore, they do different types of things, from revenue splits to per release fees and monthly fees. They all have all these different business models, but how did you arrive at that structure of providing a subscription service, and what does that look like? How is that a benefit for artists?
So those companies, first of all, they're in the millions of users, and so there's no way to provide nurturing service to, artist by artist basis. We're currently right under 1,000 users, and so in the beginning it was invite only so that we could really build our base, and then we've now opened up to, general public through referrals as well. We try to kind of keep it as a very on the ground sort of service. We don't want to get to 1 million users. We'd rather really be able to hit a smaller amount of people and help those careers flourish. And so, sorry, the second part of your question was.
So yeah, I was just asking you about your subscription model.
How do we get to subscription? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So the reason we did that is because, we're building new tools pretty much every month into the platform. And so we're cycling things in and out. For example, we just created like a social media network for all of our users to be able to message each other directly and post if they're looking for a collaborator, a producer, a songwriter, in what city, maybe they're looking for a content creator to work with. We know how difficult it can be for artists to find members of their teams. And so part of that service specifically that's free to all of our members is that we're creating new services every month that artists are sort of cycling in and out of. And we're getting feedback from our users too as to like what they're looking for, what they want out of the platform. So the reason we have it as a monthly is because outside of just putting your music up, first of all, we don't take any percentage of the songs, so 100% goes to the artist. And then secondly, it's kind of keeping accountability on the artist as well. It's like a gym membership, right? Like you kind of want something to keep you accountable and on your toes. And so with us, you're paying for these services, like paying our feedback. So you have songs that you want to put out, you can submit them to our team. We give like really intricate, detailed notes on how to make those songs better, on who you should work with, on maybe other things to try. And so again, our services beyond just getting the music out there require an artist that's a little bit more serious about their art, and not necessarily what we like to refer to as kind of like a hobbyist. And so obviously kids that are going to Full Sail or going to university or going to college for that, that's the first big step into establishing that sort of attitude toward trying to make a living off of their art. And so we are really for those kinds of students and individuals that really want to take their work seriously. And with the subscription model, it keeps them accountable, it keeps us accountable, and we also have a large team that's constantly responding to their inquiries, versus another style distributor where you put a ticket in and you don't hear back for another 2 weeks or something like that. So we're much more boots on the ground. We don't really have any AI involved in what we're doing from an external standpoint facing our users. We want that to really be led by real, tasteful, A&Rs, or we have online workshops every month with we had the head of TikTok artist partnerships last month, or someone coming from Spotify to speak to our users. And so that's part of the monthly membership as well, getting the free access to the online events and panels that we do.
Okay, so yeah, you mentioned AI, and I know AI training is becoming an issue in distribution as well. So when artists are uploading to a distributor, they're uploading their music, they're agreeing to terms of service, and a lot of them don't read the fine print, right? And now they're including the possibility, some of these companies are like selling pretty much to AI for training. So where does Green Tea stand on this kind of thing with artists?
So we don't do anything like of that magnitude. I think in terms of how we view AI is we find it to be a great tool for artists to use to make better content, to use as a wall for bouncing ideas off of. I mean, we have to embrace these tools as creatives and businesses, otherwise we kind of get left behind. I mean, I remember when Twitter came out and I was like, what do you mean people are just going to post their status and people are going to follow them? Like, who cares about that? It sounds like total nonsense. And then here we are, our president is using it, to make statements. And so I think AI in general, it doesn't necessarily have to be this massive overturn of what it means to be a human being. It's just a tool that I think every artist should be using in their arsenal of what it means to be an artist today, creating content, making music, connecting with other people. So it's just a really highly refined tool that we encourage people to use.
Yeah, so okay, well, beyond the rights conversation, right? How do you see AI changing distribution in our artist services over the next few years? Do you see any big shifts coming over the next just few years?
So, I mean, we know that the DSPs are never going to open their doors to all artists to distribute through because that's just a nightmare for them to pay out logistically and all that kind of thing. So, distributors are always going to be around, right? It's like gas stations that sell, you know, items. They can't buy them directly from a wholesaler. They have to go through a distributor. And so, we don't see AI disrupting the chain of what it means to have to put your music out. And so what I can imagine is AI, I know for DSPs, for example, is replacing a lot of human playlisting. And so like your playlists on Spotify are different than someone else's because AI has learned what you're into and feeds you more of that. And so I think that's only going to make the experience better for users that are on the platform, and also removes the idea that there's certain people that are sort of continuing to hold power over playlists or exposure of certain artists. And so if it's up to you. Would you rather have someone controlling it that maybe be getting paid under the table to get those songs in that playlist, or would you rather an algorithm be controlling it based on what it's learning and then feeding back out? So it's kind of a, you know, you choose your poison essentially that you're having to work around.
Yeah, so when he's mentioning DSPs, he's mentioning, what he's talking about is, just to clarify if any of you are newer to this, Spotify and Apple Music and Deezer and things like that. So with I saw on your platform that you're involved in playlist pitching, and is that AI playlist pitching, or is that something different?
No. Yeah, so basically as a user, let's say you have an album coming out or a couple of releases over the next few months, you put it through our playlist pitching form. That form then goes to our internal playlist pitching team that reviews your form and then decides your eligibility for actual pitching. Then we cover the cost of pitching to DSPs. We don't accept every pitch because, you know, there's certain qualifications that the DSPs need and that we also share with our users. But you at least are getting a pitching team that is in touch with DSPs directly, whereas otherwise you wouldn't have that.
That's cool. So you have a playlister pretty much, or
yeah, we have a playlist pitching team. Yeah, so we land, I would say, 3 to 5 playlists every week across the board, and those are playlists that are living on Spotify, Apple Music, you know, and big playlists, right? So again, we're probably doing 50 releases a week, and so that's kind of the percentage that we're landing. But again, we also have user-generated playlists that we help people get on. I'm just talking about official platform things.
Awesome. So let's move over to sync for just a moment. So sync licensing, for all of you that might be newer, sync licensing has to do with you getting your music placed into the film and games and TV and things like that. So it's a really important opportunity. So asking David here, for an independent artist out there without a label or without a sync agent, what are some realistic pathways to getting their music placed out there for things like this?
For sync, it's very difficult. I would say we don't consider sync a reliable source of income because it's so difficult. A lot of companies now are making their own music via AI for trailers and things of that nature. And so we're seeing this sync thing really tense up right now in terms of people being able to get placements. So I'm not personally, we have a sync pitching form on our site as well that we offer our users, it's pretty long because sync also requires a very, very intricate amount of information regarding the publishing rights and the